My live feeds. All right. All right, we'll give people another minute here to start joining the room. Go ahead and stretch. I made some popcorn, so hopefully we're not. I don't choke in the middle of a question.
Yeah, Bill, if you start choking, please just mute yourself. We don't want to hear
No. So let me answer the question.
That's enough of that.
I'll be
Flash your mic twice if you're choking, so I can call 911.
Yes, please. The Heimlich. I'm good. All right, let's do it. Let's get it going. It's right about the time, guys. It's time for USA Rugby Happy Hour Live here on Twitter Spaces. Thank you guys for tuning in, and also later on, if you're listening to this tomorrow or later on in the season, you're listening to a podcast, obviously not the live show. So with that said, this is being recorded for a podcast. Check it out. Share it with your friends. We got another big show lined up for everyone tonight. It's a Major League Rugby themed show with our game of the week, Nola Gold versus Old Glory DC. And we have Nola's fly half, Rodney Iona, and DC's number 8, Jamason, Nana Schultz. They will grace us with their presence in just a little bit. We'll hear Jamason in about 30 minutes, and we got Rodney coming up soon. If you are not already following us, please do so at Eagles Overseas and Rugby Morning here on Twitter, Instagram, to get updates on future shows and news about USA Rugby, Major League Rugby, and more. I am Bill Baker of Eagles Overseas, and my trusty co-host, Rugby Morning's John, don't call me Fitzy, Bill, Fitzpatrick, is on the line. What's up, man?
Hey, Bill. Hey, everyone. You can call me Fitzy. That's all right. It's acceptable this week.
Okay, we're friends again? Okay, good.
Yeah, we're back at it.
So you know what's funny? It's not a ton of news. There was some World Rugby news today about the potential of a World League, but I didn't get a chance to really read into it. But not a lot going on this week. Did I miss anything?
Nope, you have not missed a thing. I think Ireland won something big, but who cares, right?
No, it means nothing. It means nothing to us. There is a great video online that went viral today of who was it? I think one of the centers who just he did not want to go out anymore, so he stayed home, and the rest of the Irish contingency showed up in a van or a bus to his house. He says, "I thought I was going to stop drinking forever." But something about tonight's show also, Fitzy, if you caught this at all, there's 7 players from tonight's guest teams that made it on the Major League Rugby first team of the week from this last week's games. One of the guests tonight was selected. The other one didn't. Maybe there'll be a little something there. Maybe the guests will be a little sour about that. I don't know.
Well, as you mentioned, Matt, it's the match of the week for sure.
Yeah.
So I have quite a feeling we're going to see a few players from both squads make the MLR first 15 in round 6. Count on it.
Oh, absolutely. And these are 2 teams playing really well at the same time, too, streaking at the right time and coming head to head at the right time. So that's good. I'm definitely going to be tuning into that game. I know I'll be in Quincy on Saturday. Whether I watch, I know it's going to be horrible weather, worse than when DC played up here, a couple weeks ago. But it's going to be nasty weather. I'm all for it. Let's go.
I'm calling it a Dallas upset. You heard it here first.
Okay. Now, can we bet on one of those betting sites for Major League Rugby? Like put down $5 to win 400 on that bet. All right,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And speaking of let's do it, let's get right into it. Let's get to our first guest. Joining us first is none other than Nola Gold's fly half, Rodney Iona. Hey, Rodney, how are you, buddy?
Not too bad, man. Yourself?
Doing well, man. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad it all worked out. I know it's some people don't even want to touch the whole Twitter thing, but I'm glad you jumped on board.
No worries.
So what's new? What's going on?
Not a lot. Obviously, moved to New Orleans from Melbourne in Australia.
Yeah.
Settled in well. The group really welcomed me with open arms. So just enjoying the new comp that I'm in, MLR.
Mm-hmm.
Taking 1 week at a time. So, yeah, it's been pretty good.
Good. And congrats on your win last weekend over Utah. For you, 3 tries in the last 2 matches, and now you're averaging over about 460 meters kicking per game. That's a pretty good 2 weeks for you.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Obviously, the first couple of games, I think it was the first 3 games, the boys weren't really clicking, but we're glad we come away with the 2 wins from the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, was there a change maybe in game plan? Because prior to, say, the Rugby New York match, before that, you were maybe averaging about 180 meters kicking per game. The team was lower. Then all of a sudden, like I mentioned a minute ago, 460 in the last 2 wins. Was that part of it, more of a battle for territory?
Yeah, if I think back to the first 3 games, the weather wasn't really it played a big factor in the kicking game, obviously coming against the wind, not much kicking. Most teams rather kick out out wide. So that played a big factor in the fact that couldn't get much kicks in the first 3 games, and then when we got a bit of better weather, we started to use that kick more often.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney, let's talk a little bit about the start of the 2023 season so far. A lot of pundits predicted that NOLA Gold was going to be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. You mentioned certainly a slower start, 0-3, but since I've won 2 straight games, was there ever any panic or doubts from the players after those first 3 weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a question that we often get asked. Yeah, obviously the season didn't take off as we wanted to. We knew that we were a good playing group, but we just needed to click. And I think after those first 3 weeks, we kind of still were calm about it. Leadership done a great job in obviously keeping the spirits up, and the coaches never took our eyes off that prize. Like we came in. I think after the games we were pretty disappointed on how we went, but we always said that we're a good team on paper. We just needed to click, and we finally clicked against New York.
Yeah, and in a big way. I mean, I think that was such a big win for the club that had to lift spirits. It had to help that. I mean, if you looked across the board at the Eastern Conference, it's pretty stacked from top to bottom. There's only a few table points separating everyone. That's got to be a little reassuring, knowing that even with a loss on any given week, every club is still in it from here on out. There's not going to be an easy week. And that just got to make it much more interesting and competitive for the players, knowing that no one's ever out of the standings, and they've always got a shot at getting in the top 3 for a playoff spot.
Yeah, that's correct, man. Our conference is pretty tight knit at the moment, and obviously there's some great teams in the competition, and I feel like you can never, every week you got to turn up. There's obviously good teams in this competition.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about some of your NOLA Gold teammates. We talked a little bit. Bill talked a little bit about the MLR first 15. Week 5, you guys had 3 players: Patrick O'Toole, Malcolm May, JP Duplessis, only to be outdone by this week's opponent, Old Glory. They placed 4 guys on there. Honestly, if you ask me, I felt like you got robbed the prior week when you put up 2 tries against New York. What were they looking at, man? 2 tries. What more can you ask for?
I guess old mate from was it Toronto?
Yeah.
He obviously scored all the points, and that was like headline for every post, the MLR and MLR stats and all those kind of. But I guess I thought I played it pretty good, but goes on. I guess.
Well, Rodney, one follow-up question: should we anticipate a drop goal attempt from you against Old Glory? Careful, because
I'll probably get in trouble if I answer that question.
No answer. Okay. Hey, Rodney, we're talking about what he was talking about the players a second ago. How there's so many players on the first 15 in the last few weeks for your team and also the other team as well. But and I apologize, I disappeared for a second. But what does that say about the team? Is it more of a testament how well you're all playing together right now?
Yeah, I guess so. After coming off those 2 wins with those 2 teams, we I don't know. I guess we're just going with the same team. We yeah, it's a bit of a hard question to ask. Is like, I guess if the team's going well at the moment, then why change anything that's not broken yet, right?
Right. And let's look at some of the team's new additions in this offseason. Dougie Fife's joined, Jackson Hope, Cale Hodgson. Let's talk about how well they fit in and their impact on the team. Any or the team's success. Anything you can talk about? Maybe even Cale or Dougie coming in line as well.
Yeah, Dougie Fife. I'm not quite sure if you guys know, but he's played a couple of international tests for Scotland. He's played, I think it was for New Jacks last year. So he's got a bit of experience behind him, and he brings a lot to the team during and obviously outside of rugby. Cale, he's impressed me the last couple of weeks, man. On the weekend, he had to step up. He started for us on the weekend, and I thought he did a really good job.
You're right.
No, that's great to hear, Rodney. I wanted to take a step back and talk a little bit about kind of your background, how you got started in rugby. So you mentioned at the top of the hour, you're born and raised in Melbourne. Isn't Melbourne a big Aussie rules football town?
Yeah, it is. I think the country's first sporting is AFL there, so it's pretty popular in all over Australia. But Melbourne was growing up, there wasn't much rugby. I think there was only the junior started from under 12s or under 14s or something. So growing up in Melbourne, there was a lot of AFL, and all my cousins and friends were playing rugby league. So I joined rugby league at a young age.
Rodney, you got to give me credit because typically when an American sees Melbourne, they say Melbourne, but I didn't say Melbourne.
Yeah, I did notice you say that. Yes.
Well, there is a Melbourne, Florida. They don't say Melbourne.
Yeah, they say Melbourne.
Yeah,
that's right. And it's not Brisbane; it's Brizzy. That's what everyone calls it. Brizzy.
That's it. Everything's got a nickname.
That's right. I love it. Talking a little bit about your playing career, right? So you played in Australia, Super Rugby. You played in France in the Pro D2. You're now in the U.S. playing in MLR. Did you ever think your rugby career would take you to the United States to play professional rugby?
Yeah, never would have thought that at a young age. But I don't think it was until recently I found out about the MLR. I think it was like 4 years ago, and coming to an end, coming close to the back end of my career, I did say to my family that I wanted to come and play MLR and, travel and experience this side of the world before ending my career. So, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of being here playing in MLR, but it was on the kind of the bucket list.
Yeah, and you're enjoying yourself so far.
Loving it. Like I said at the start of the podcast, the team has welcomed us real nicely here.
Yeah, listeners, whether you're tuning into our live streams on Facebook or YouTube, we're not streaming to Instagram tonight because it's just too many difficulties and I'm too slow to do it. But if you're tuning in there, I see a couple people already made some comments. If you'd like to ask a question, you can go ahead and just drop it into the chats of those. Or join us over here on Twitter Spaces, and you can ask the questions yourself. It's a joy. These guys are great to talk to. And another thing about that, Rodney, about Major League Rugby, you've played some pretty top level in multiple countries, the leagues, not necessarily international level. We'll talk about that later. But, coming into the league and now, how does this league compare to maybe other leagues you might have played in?
It's quite similar. Obviously, other competitions are more established in terms of facilities. I heard some teams have to travel to their gym places and come back to their field and train. So I guess the quality in this comp, I think, is really good.
Yeah, it seems pretty well balanced for the most part here, as far as between all the clubs, which is great. You want that well balanced league. There might be a couple of teams who struggle, but for the most part, it is well balanced, and you have some really good athletes. And it's great to see players like yourself, a number of others come over and play. And I, on the American side of things, I love it because I know you can add a lot to the younger American players, and you have a few on your team, obviously. I think the benefit for them is grand. With that said, I mean, you don't have to mention names and anything like that, but I don't know, is anyone you kind of taken underneath your wing, maybe on Nola's team or someone else you came across at some point?
I've been working closely with young Reese Porter.
Oh yeah.
He's I think he moved to America a couple of years ago, and ever since stayed and played, and was fortunate this year to pick up a contract with Nola. He's one of the guys that I'm working closely with at Nola at the moment. He actually sits right next to me in the locker rooms, which is pretty cool. We get to talk all things playmaking.
And speaking of Nola again, we've had Dino Waldron on the show a couple times. Cam was on once. Dino mentioned how much he loves the facility there. It's a unique stadium, obviously a baseball stadium, which on TV doesn't look great, but he says he loves playing there. He loves the facilities in there. Can you talk about the facilities as well? I'm sure there's some good workout rooms, stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty cool. When I first got into the setup, I was blown away about how cool the facilities were. We've obviously got our locker rooms that we train and we gym there. So we've got a big, massive gym room in the stadium, and we basically do everything there in terms of training and stuff like that.
Well, how's that crowd there? Yeah, again, sometimes it's tough to really tell on TV, but it seems like in a place like New Orleans, they would be crazy.
Yeah. On the weekend, they were pretty loud on the weekend. So it's actually a great stadium because it's obviously half of the field, but the noise that comes from that corner, man, it's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, let's jump forward.
Rodney, I'm always interested
go ahead.
in when players come from overseas or from other professional competitions. How did that process of you coming to the MLR? Did you put out feelers to MLR clubs, or did MLR reach out to you? How did that process kind of begin?
Well, it was actually my manager that hit me up about it. He said he got an email from if it was Fitzy or the MLR, but asking if I was interested in coming into to MLR and play. So, like I said before, it's always been it's always been on the bucket list. So, I was quick to pounce on this one.
Fortunately, you landed in if it's not there yet, it certainly start to get much warmer in New Orleans. I mean, you could have landed in Chicago, where it's been cold and snowing and raining, which is not the most fun weather to play rugby in. So I think you landed in a good spot, at least weather-wise. It is warm enough there for you.
Yeah, we've had a mixed bag. Obviously, our first game was really cold and windy, and then the last two games that we had at home was really hot. Oh, actually, on the weekend it wasn't as hot, but the game that we played against New York, I really felt for the boys from New York coming from the cold, playing in this humidity. It was really hot. I actually quite enjoy playing in the hot, which is good for me. But the other foreigner boys from New Zealand, where it's cold, they're struggling a bit. They're always at the pools trying to cool off.
Well, there is that silly saying, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. So luckily right now you don't have to deal with that, but come June, good God.
Yeah, I've heard the boys were saying that like it gets worse. And obviously when we're playing rugby, the ball's slippery and it would be hard. It's harder to catch and to keep a hold of.
Yeah, again, the influence of you coming over to Major League Rugby, did the fact that there are a number or a few Samoan national players here, did that help your decision at all, or just honestly, you already said you wanted to come here already, but the fact that Fidel, who are others that are here, did that help?
Yeah, I actually spoke to them about the competition when we were in camp one time, and they said they absolutely loved it. They're enjoying it here. They've obviously got their partners and family here. and it kind of played a little in my decisions. But like you said, it's always been on the bucket list to come here.
No, that's great. And you can talk a little bit about Samoa there. Let's talk about the Samoa national team. You helped Samoa qualify for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. You played later this year in France, which is awesome. Should we expect to see you in the Samoan camp once the MLR season is over?
That's the plan. Obviously, the squad hasn't been picked yet, but I'll put my hands up to represent our country in the upcoming World Cup. If all goes well.
Yeah, no, that's exciting to play for your country in the Rugby World Cup. Bill talked about Ed Feedown. We had AJ Alatimu on a couple of weeks ago, and when we had AJ on last month, he shared that he likes to play music and dance in the locker room after wins. He claimed that he's a good dancer. So Rodney, how would you rate his taste in music and his dancing skills?
Taste in music, it's pretty good. But his dancing moves, I'm not quite sure about that. I don't know if I'd call that dancing. But if he thinks it's dancing, then 0 out of 10.
Wow. There's our tease.
Nah. Bless him. He's a special on that one.
What's your favorite story you can tell us about AJ that's radio friendly?
He's actually quite a funny guy. He's the jokester. He's a joker. He's a joker in the team. But yeah, he's in this group that we call the entertainment. You obviously got your leaders, and then on tour. So, and then they have other leaders, which is the entertainment leaders, and he takes care of all the music, our socials. So he's the man for the job. Yeah, quite a funny bloke, that
guy. So listen, I want to jump in. I want to talk about food with you now. Okay.
Yes.
Because this is
salad.
Something. The funny thing is, like, salad.
Did you really say salad?
I hope my coaches aren't listening to this now.
All right. Well, with that said, you talk about world-class food. Whenever I travel overseas or anywhere, I'd like to get local food. So if I was going to Samoa, hopefully you spend a lot of time there, obviously, what would be the dish to eat?
Oh, that's a great question, man. So many to pick from. I think so there's these green bananas we call fa'i, and they're dressed in like the coconut cream. So I'll probably go with the fa'i and a luau, which is a dish that's made on top of like taro leaves. And then you put coconut cream in the middle, and then you steam it and eat it. So I'd go with fa'i and luau.
Ooh.
Have you ever been to Samoa?
No. Want to.
Missing out.
I've been invited to Fiji a number of times from former teammates of mine, but it's really far away.
But worth it.
Yes, I know. Let's talk New Orleans. Let's keep on the food theme here, because all I have is popcorn next to me, so I want to talk about more stuff. So New Orleans, obviously, some amazing food there. I mean, it sounds like you've been to the French Quarter. Have you enjoyed the food of the area? Maybe some beignets.
Yeah. During the time of the parades, we had some boiled crawfish. That was really nice. I love my seafood, so that was a great experience to experience that.
Wait, did you suck the head of the crawfish?
Sure did, mate.
There you go. Yep.
No other way. There's these things called po' boys.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. So I've delved into that. We've actually got like this place called the Parkway Po' Boys. It's where they I think they've won a couple of awards best po' boy in Louisiana, I think. So I've lived right next to that.
Nice. In my playing days, I played in Atlanta, and we would play against the old NOLA club. And we would make it a night when we played away, obviously, at New Orleans. We would definitely make 2 nights out of it. Friday night before the match, low key, nothing else. After the match, it was one of the things. I guess the term isn't something you'll forget. The term is something you can't remember because of the fun you would have. Yeah, but all good, man. Hey, okay, so listen, we got just a couple more minutes.
I got a
go ahead.
Question. Sorry, yeah, Rodney, my audio dropped there, so I couldn't ask the question there. I apologize. I was going to bring up when you guys were talking about Samoan food. I had a 6th grade teacher, Miss Iona. She would always cook food and bring it in to the class, and we would devour it. But she used to make this dish, and I can't ever remember the name of it, but it was some type of like chicken dumpling. It's one of the best things I've ever had. You know what I'm talking about?
I think you might be talking. Was it like a dumpling, or was it like a pork bun?
It was something good. We lost John again. He's having some technical difficulties. I think he actually ran out of the house to go find the food somewhere. Well, hey, listen, Rodney, we've kept you long enough here. We really do appreciate you giving us this time. Good luck this weekend. You know what? Good luck the rest of the season. Good luck with the World Cup and getting on that squad.
Too easy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, buddy. Cheers.
Cheers. See ya.
All right. For those just tuning in right now, either on our live streams or here on Twitter Spaces, that was Rodney Iona from New Orleans, from NOLA Gold Fly Half, Samoan International. So much fun to talk to him about this weekend's match, last weekend's Major League Rugby International, and lots of food questions. So that was good. But I think it's time for us to move on. I know Fitzy, hopefully he can hear a little bit or not, but he's having some technical difficulties on his end. And that's just the situation with Twitter and Twitter Spaces. It's just odd. It works sometimes, most of the time, but every so often we have some issues. But we're going to move on to our next guest in a second, and we're inviting him up right now to speak. When he gets up in a second, we'll move on, and I believe he's with us right now. So let's go to him. It's Old Glory, DC number 8, and USA Eagle number 534, Jamason Fontanama Schultz. Jama, how are you?
Hey, lads. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Did you take any notes that first 30 minutes?
Yeah, good. Some good tips on how to beat NOLA.
Yeah.
Play in terrible weather.
Yes, terrible weather. Yeah.
Well, John, I tried to see if they were going to sneak in a drop goal on you, and Rodney wouldn't answer. So.
We are not betting people, by the way.
I think my audio is working better now. I can't really tell.
Yeah, it's all good. We went on a good stretch there, Fitzy, with no technical issues for like 7 weeks.
I think it's because I'm not having a beer. That's why.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. Anyway, all right. Let's jump into it. Good win over Toronto last weekend, 23-9. Pretty impressive. Arguably the best team performance of the season, if you ask me. Talk about that game and what were the keys to that victory.
No, I think it came down to we had a tough loss against New York. We got beat up by them.
Yeah.
And then had a pretty shitty first half against New England. So, we came in with some things that we need to work on. And that was, winning the physicality battle was one of our main ones, which we showed against Chicago in that first round. Mm-hmm. And we knew if we match a team with our physicality battle and we're able to keep our foot on that, then we'll see some good results. And obviously, we held Toronto to only that 3 points in the first 3 minutes, which is, it was pretty good. It was awesome for the boys, awesome for the coaches as well. There was quite a lot of pressure on the team to get that win. We lose that game where they're close to the bottom of the ladder on the East, but we won that game, and then we go to the top of the East for a few hours before New England come back on.
I was at that the New England game, and weather aside, it wasn't that bad. tough game. I'm jumping ahead here, by the way, just because I want to get this out of the way before Fitzy gets mad at me. From the fans' point of view, we didn't see some of the. We won't talk about the refereeing or anything like that. Okay, that's out of our control.
Phil, talk about it. That was a bogus forward pass call.
It was. It was just missed. It wasn't a.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, it directly came from you, obviously, Jem. It was just, I guess the referees just didn't see it off the head. But I get texts from Fitzy in the middle of the game. That's bogus. I'm like, I look good from my angle.
I don't think that was the word I used.
So it just goes like that sometimes. But I mean, after the game, I usually stick around and try to run into people like you, handshake, face-to-face contact, so you know who I am when we do this kind of stuff. But that was one of those games I thought, you know what, I'm gonna let them be. They're gonna have their beers after the game with the other team and all that. So I just, so no offense, I didn't stick around and shake your hand. Go on, Fitzy.
It was a cold one, so I blame you as well.
Yeah.
Last time he comes on your podcast, Bill. Yeah, let's. You mentioned a little bit, at the beginning of the season, right? At home against an expansion team, you had to beat Chicago. You guys took care of business there. Again, tough match against New York. Almost beat the Free Jacks there, which is they hardly ever lose at home. How would you? I guess maybe up and down maybe isn't the right way to put it, but how would you describe, or what would you describe the identity of the current team right now?
I think it's pretty much it's quite tough to put a one identity on our team yet. I think we're still trying to find our footing, find ourselves. We have a great mix of nationalities in our team. From the RG boys to the Islander boys to quite a lot of the young Americans coming into the team. So I think they're still trying to find our chemistry within the team, and just building that. And I think from the past games, we can definitely set our tone on our defensive play and our defensive structure. I think that's where our team is leading towards. If our defense is set in stone and we're able to do that, then we can win games. And then our attack just shows how many points we can win. How many points we can win by. So I think when you talk about identity, it's definitely around our defensive structure, and that's where we're trying to focus on for this week against Nola especially.
Yeah, it's certainly been a noticeable. I don't know if change, but it's been noticed that there's been more of a defensive effort. Look at least if you compared it to how last season started compared to this year, there's certainly been almost maybe night and day. But you mentioned it, right? After the game against Toronto, you guys had first place there for a few hours until Sunday when New England played, currently in sole possession of second place in the Eastern Conference. What would you say to someone who says, well, hey, they've only beat Chicago and Toronto. Those teams are a combined 2-6. What would you say to them about the fact that you have wins over Chicago and Toronto?
It's to see the big growth from last year's team to this year. We went quite a long stretch without winning a game last year, and that was a tough season for not just us as players, but for the whole organization and DC itself, the owners, the coaches. We lost our coach halfway through the season. One of the longest running coaches left, and he was the last one left, Andrew Douglas. It was tough to lose him midway through the season. And, it did take a toll on a lot of the boys because, we wouldn't be in this organization and this team without Andrew. So, that took a big toll on us. And, I think coming into this year, we just needed a fresh start. And Simsy has brought that. Josh Sims, our new head coach now, has brought us that new energy and a new spark. And I think with the Argentina boys coming in as well, it's been an awesome connection with our team. They've brought that family orientation that the Islander boys love as well. They put on a bloody good barbecue, so can't complain about the food. And the food is definitely a key to any Islander's heart. So
well, Rodney just stepped out. The only people listening now are just on the live streams. So if you have any secrets you want to share now about the matchup this weekend, go for it.
That dumpling you were talking about is kekipua'a. So it's a Samoan pork bun, but definitely
Someone answered my question. I love it.
Yeah.
Good.
I think for the games, you get pretty heavy. It's a few kilos just from a few of those.
Oh boy. All right, let's move forward to this weekend now. Again, playing NOLA. Are there any, I don't know, any NOLA players you're training on this week? What I mean by that's like flanker. Tom Florence has been getting a lot of carries this season. Cam Dolan, he may have moved to second row, but tough in the set pieces. I mean, it looks like you personally will have your work cut out for you. A lot of ball carries around the loose forwards.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Rodney is definitely their playmaker and is their game driver. And this week's going to be a huge battle of territory. And just like he was saying, NOLA struggled, to get their kicking territory right with those first two games. Due to the weather, and unfortunately for him, it's going to be another wet one this Saturday. It's high chance of rain. Our stadium's quite windy in the middle of Segra Field there, so. It's going to be a interesting one. It's going to be a lot of set piece involved, a lot of scrums, and a lot of lineouts. So, whoever kicks the most will win this game. So it'll be an awesome battle to see, Tito versus Rodney, and it's going to be a good battle with that. And then to the forwards, you have Monty, who was coming off the bench, but I think he is one of the best flankers in this league coming out. Put some natural hooks on. He's definitely a game driver for them. And obviously Cam Dolan is just their leader around the lineouts and their set piece. Wherever he is, we've got to stay away from him in our lineouts. So, we've got some plays just to stay away from him and keep anything away from Cam, because whenever he can read any lineout he wants quite easily. So any quick lineout, I think we'll be throwing those.
Gentlemen, let's talk a little bit about some of your DC teammates. Just this past round, you guys had 4 players named to the MLR First 15, yourself included. Some of the other teammates, Tito was named there. You mentioned the Argentinian influence. So besides the awesome barbecue skills that they bring to the squad, how else have they impacted the club so far?
I think it's just I think that the fresh start with the organization has definitely been just exactly what we needed coming into All Glory's 2023 season. We just needed something fresh and a new spark. And the Argentina boys have come in, and they've brought their flair. We have Lautaro, who's been playing at 6, who in Argentina they call him the soldier. He was the captain of the Argentina 15, and he's been amazing. You might not hear him from the stats from on the TV, but his stats are crazy. He's hitting double-digit breakdowns every single game, making double-digit 100% tackles, and he's just an absolute beast. And that's definitely what we need. And then him paired up with Corey Daniel is just some of the best flankers in the league. And then you have Marcos the Young, which is a young kid, also American qualified on the wing. He's coming into the season. He was run 3rd or 4th string winger, and then unfortunately due to some injuries to Junior and Penny, he's come in and he's made his mark now. I think he'll be setting in stone with his new position, and he's bringing that flair, just what we need. Let us forwards do all the hard carrying and let them finish, and that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, you talk about Corey Daniel. I got to ask a question. So he was a pretty good wrestler in college. Have any of the boys on the squad challenged him to a wrestling match, and how's it gone for him?
I think the only guy that has matched him is Kumpa, our tight end prop from Argentina. He's 6'5", 6'4", 300 pounds. So it's a good matchup, but Corey still won. So this shows how strong those wrestlers are.
Let's talk about Herrera. He joined, so he didn't play round 1. He joined in round 2. We understand that the team didn't have a jersey that fit him, right? So they had to combine or stitch together a couple other jerseys to get one on him. Is that true? Is that what happened?
Yeah, a funny story, that one. So, so obviously Paladin have not been doing a good job with their sizing. So the biggest size they have was a 5XL, but it was actually only an XL.
Wow.
So when they made it for him, he came on. It was pretty much just a bra. So he was wearing that. We were like, oh, we're getting a few complaints from the other people in the gym about Kumpa wearing a bra in the. So, yeah, one of our general managers had to go find a tailor and especially put 2 jerseys together just to create his jersey for the games. So, he's a big boy. I don't know how big he looks on TV, but if you see him in person, he's huge.
He's the kind of guy I would say your man to the player next to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jamo, let's talk about captaincy, if I can say that name right. You were named the captain of the team before the start of the season. What's that mean to you to be named captain? And also, is that something that you were striving for the entire time with this team?
I've been here since the beginning of this team, and I've been through all the ups and downs. A lot of downs with this league and with this organization. Mm-hmm. Obviously, last year, being suspended the whole season, so that wasn't a good look on my part. So, obviously, I think this year, with the captaincy being put on my shoulders, it sort of, just kept me in my place and being like, hey, if you stay on the field, you do your job, and you're consistent every week, and you're putting in all the hard work you do, the team will succeed. And I think that's just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take the pressure off every other player. Players like Danny Tusitala, our 9, who took on that big toll last year. And I'm just letting him do his thing now, which is why he's been one of the better 9s in the league this year. Just focus on doing his job, and that's playing rugby. And let me handle the pressures of captaincy and dealing with other things around the team. I think under pressure, I'm not too bad. I can handle it. Try to keep a calm head. So I think it is good for me. I don't have to think too much. I just talk to the ref, let the boys talk to me, and I spread that to the ref. And whatever frustrations they have, I can just take onto myself and keep the boys in line. And that's the best way to do it. I feel like I have a good supporting cast around me. Unfortunately, Stan South was my vice captain. He's gone down with a season-ending injury. So that's unfortunate. But he's in good spirits at the moment. He's still helping coach the set piece stuff with our team. But he's still got my back, and I still got his. And then obviously with Kurt Baker and Tito as well, some best in their position in rugby. As an extra supporting cast that helps me a lot with organizing our game drivers and getting the boys in shape for the games and putting in a good preparation for these games coming up.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of good veteran leadership, right, to help shoulder the burden, right, of leading the squad out there. And certainly you're the captain out there, or the general on the field. You brought up the suspension last season, right? Look, rugby's a hard sport played by tough guys, which is probably why I don't play anymore. But how do you tread that fine line of like wanting to play aggressive and physical, but not letting like the emotions or the chatter from the opponents, get to you? How do you tread that fine line?
I think at the end of the day, it's just stop being a dickhead. Yeah, it's pretty much what it comes down to. Is, are you a dickhead or are you not? So, if someone's trying to chat some shit to you, you just take it on the chin and be like, yeah, okay. Next time you run the ball, then I'll just handle you my own way instead of, doing stupid things like I did last year. I think it's just trying to hold those emotions in and just put it into a rugby sense instead of using your fists or, doing something else that's not a rugby mentality. And I think that the captaincy has helped a lot in my perspective. It has helped a lot with controlling my emotions and looking at, it's not just me anymore. The team and the organization relies on me leading this team to success, and that's what I have to have in my sights first and foremost.
Yeah, I think a lot of players go through it, and whether you're the captain or not, it's maturity. We all reach a certain level where we mature, and sometimes it takes what happened to get there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely agree with that.
Hey,
So
listeners,
one
yeah, go
follow
ahead,
up.
Fitz.
Sorry,
Yeah.
one follow up question. And John, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because some of what I love about how captains interact with referees is it's some captains they do a really good job, but every now and then they say the right thing to get the ref kind of like on their side. There's definitely a gamemanship there with the ref. How would you rate your skills and how you persuade the referee to see things your way, if you will?
I think it's funny you bring that up. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think in this league, it's definitely it's all about just like you have to when they say respecting ref. I think this league you really got to dumb it down and you got to be like act stupid a little bit, like act like you have no idea what's going on sometimes. Like, oh, okay, yes, ref. Sorry, I had no idea that was offside. I was let me talk to him. Stuff like that. I think because I think that the thing with the league that it struggles with is there is three refs on the field, but only one of them is doing something, and that's the only guy. And I think we do take a lot out on the refs, but it's tough when you have a lot of games they have these refs come in, they've never refed a professional game in their life, so I do feel for them trying to handle all the burden of trying to control 30 plus rugby men using their egos and trying to kill everybody else in the field. It does take a toll on the refs. So
Sure.
I guess you just gotta have the utmost respect. And obviously, they get the calls right or wrong. That's just rugby. You just gotta live with it. You just gotta play rugby. You just gotta do your job. And end of the day, you can't put anything else on the refs. You just gotta put more points on the board, and that's pretty much how games are won these days.
So we have a listener question over on the our Facebook Live chat. It's right on time because we're going to start talking a little bit about USA Rugby. He wrote, following the difficult 2022 season and then missing out the summer series for you, it looked like you were bouncing back, but despite the results in Dubai, you played really well, possibly cementing the number 8 role for a while for USA. Would you consider your performance with USA and your start this year a way to bounce back to form?
Yeah. Unfortunately, everyone we try not to talk about the result.
Yeah.
With those World Cup qualifiers, but obviously it still haunts a lot of us and the players that are playing in that game, and especially a lot of the fans. They were expecting USA to be in the World Cup this year, and I think the result has haunted a lot of players, which has provided the extra spark for them to be performing in this year's MLR season. You've had some outstanding performances by some Eagles players like Marcel. I think you guys had him on a few ago. He's been playing amazing with San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I think Jack Ascaro for Old Glory as well has been playing awesome as well, and he's definitely a player to watch, and I think he'll be solidifying that number 1 spot for the Eagles. So you're seeing a lot of players around the league that have really just stepped up. I think that the results from the World Cup stuff has just ignited a spark that that's definitely needed in the players. Obviously they didn't get the result, but now they want to perform. They want to be able to move on to other things where if it's contracts overseas or be seen overseas, or just trying to find a living here in the US and making the MLR home. Again, it's tough. It's tough. It's something that I still think about every day. Wanting to be at that World Cup, but now we just got to do our job, and that's performing for our teams, our MLR teams now, and just getting it done, getting these wins, and just performing consistently every week.
Yeah, and you just mentioned overseas a minute ago. If you had the chance, if you got a call, and maybe you have already, let's say a Pro D2 top 14 Premiership club calls you, and I'm not saying you should leave MLR, but if you got that call, would you consider it?
Yeah, of course. I definitely consider, anything with regards to overseas. But I think it all comes down to, a lot of us, especially myself, recently engaged. So it all comes down to, does it work for
Congrats.
my partner as well? So, she's the boss. So I got to listen to her as well. So if she says yes, I can go. If she says no, then I will be staying in DC.
So somewhere warm, so south of France. Okay, we'll go with that.
I think if there's a beach, then she'll be happy with that. So.
Well, Will Hooley, that's why he moved to San Diego. His wife said it needs to be a beach and warm.
Yeah.
Sorry. There was a question in there somewhere. I couldn't get it out. But speaking of the boss, not Bruce Springsteen, but speaking of the men's Eagles, a little bit of an August tour. It sounds like coming together. I think Georgia, I think Romania has been confirmed now. So obviously after the MLR season, and we hope Old Glory season goes through into July there. But will you be raising your hand for that August tour?
Yeah, I most definitely will be. I think of a lot of the players and the team finished on quite a downward against that Portugal game. So we like to, restart and get our love back for, playing for our country and, playing for the Eagles' pride and getting back into getting some more games together. It's always a good environment getting all the boys together around, into those Eagles camps. What the future holds for the Eagles, only God knows that question and that answer. So, but I am excited for what's to come. Scott Lawrence is definitely building something that I think a lot of the US fans and the players can look forward to. I think he's definitely has an amazing plan in place that he'll be putting on to everybody. So I am excited for that, and I'm excited for the months to come. But obviously, I got my first job to do, and that's leading DC to MLR championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just mentioned Scott Lawrence, right? Interim head coach now is taking over for Gary Gold. You had some experience you had a ton of time with Gary, right? What was it like playing under Gold?
Yeah, I've been there. So my first cap was 2019, so pre-World Cup qualifiers as well. And then unfortunately, I was cut last week before the World Cup. And I've been with Gary ever since then. And there's obviously there's ups and downs. Same with just how USA Rugby's been going. And I think what USA needs, and just this is just how I feel, is just the consistency of an actual coaching staff. Gary's been there, but the assistant coach has always been changing. The forwards coach has been changing. The backs coach has been changing. Every tour I've been on has just been changing of coaches. So there's never been consistency and chemistry with, the coach to players bonding there. And I think that's, when you see a lot of the successful teams in the world, it's all about that chemistry between the players and the coaches, and the respect between those two, the players and the coaches. And that's where you see success in the teams. And I think that's what USA sort of lacked, is just trying to find that consistency. And unfortunately, I think we had some of the best coaches on that Dubai World Cup qualifying tour, with Mario from Argentina coming in and taking over the forwards. I thought that was some of the best coaching I've had from a forwards perspective as well. So just a shame it didn't work out. He's now on to work with Dallas. But hopefully we get coaches like that in the future with the US. And obviously, we're still looking for other coaches to help Scott, build this team up. But yeah, only time will tell to see what happens next.
Let me ask you one more thing about the Dubai series there. Not the matches themselves, but you definitely mentioned how emotional, how tough it was, and you're still not over it. I get that. But you're a young guy in the team, let's say. But what I saw from, say, Marcy and AJ and those on, when they're being interviewed, was the emotions they had because they've been around a long time. When you saw them by the way they were, I mean, how did that affect you? Did it kind of give you more of a sense of how important this whole thing was? I mean, I knew you already knew that, but then to see the veterans at that level really breaking down or whatever, really taking it that hard.
Yeah, it definitely did break me because, we were in a long tour. That was a 3-month tour.
Yeah.
We were going for a long time. And you speak about those veteran players like AJ, Marcel, Paul Asike as well. They were only sacrificing their time away from home. They have young kids as well, wives taking care of their kids by themselves. So they're putting in a lot of sacrifice, and it does take a toll on. On a end of the day, we're human. Being away from your wife and your newborn kids is tough for anybody. I have no, I couldn't imagine it, but just from seeing them, I understand their pain and I understand what they're going through. And to be that far away from your kids and then to have a heavy burden loss like that, just it would break anybody. And to see their faces after the game really just showed how much they love this country and how much they love the team and what it really meant for them. And I hope, the young guys like myself and anyone else around the team that is, hopefully will be in the next World Cup after this French World Cup, there's sort of builds a spark in their eyes and be like, man, we got to do it for these guys that will be passing on their torches to us, because obviously those guys will not be here in the next round of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, those guys have given everything they have, and they have all my respects. I've been with them for a long time, I couldn't speak highly of any of those guys, AJ and Marcel especially. Nate Osberger as well.
Oh, yeah.
Those players I've played with, and they are the most amazing people I've met with as well. And I think that's what makes them such great players, is because they're off the field, they're just as amazing.
All right, so a couple more questions before you let you go. With you talking about these players, and when I see you play, I finally saw you play in person during that game up here in New England. Prior to that was the Dubai series and other matches, and you reminded me of an American player. I'm not going to say his name because I want to hear what you think, and I'll say it after. But is there a player that you model yourself after, that you think you play like, or that that you want to aspire to play like?
Funny you say that, because I think my first World Cup game that I ever went to go watch, it was in New Zealand. It was USA versus Samoa.
Okay.
And the first picture I ever got, because I loved watching this guy play throughout all my time, watching as a young kid, was Todd Clever. So I always loved
You don't have the hair.
I have hair, but I always loved watching him play. He was such an awesome player to watch. And I saw a photo of me and him.
Nice.
And then I must have been young, but I forgot how old I was back then. Yeah. Maybe like 10 or 11, I think.
So when I see you play, I picture a bit of Samu Manoa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
He's still playing, man. He was the hit man.
He's big, dude. You're a big guy too, but he's big.
He's a big boy. Yeah.
John, I got to ask you before you get out of here. We asked Rodney a couple food questions, so I got to ask you a food question. You've been in DC for a few years now. What's your favorite place to go out and eat? You got a favorite restaurant in the DC area?
We have a few local ones, like just local taqueria places, like Mexican food.
Yeah.
But you can't go wrong with the Maryland crab here.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic answer.
You just can't beat it. I never liked Old Bay until I found the crab, and I'm like, damn, I put on everything.
That's the mallet, right?
Answer.
You use the mallet. You break those things apart. Yes.
I'm just using my teeth.
I'm a rugby player. Arr.
I didn't even know they had them until I met my partner.
See, Bill's from New England, so he's used to fancy lobsters. Down here in the Mid Atlantic, baby, it's the blue crab. That's right, with a little butter and some Old Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, buddy,
that's the one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm too fancy for you guys. All right, listen, Jamason, we freaking love the time you've given us. We really appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. Good luck the rest of the MLR season, and we can't wait to see you back in a USA uniform as well.
No, thank you so much, guys, for having us. And you're doing an awesome job with the show as well.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Jamason and Rodney. Please check out the podcast if you missed most of the show. Otherwise, check us out every Wednesday. We have 2 great guests already lined up for next Wednesday. Again, enjoy you guys tuning in. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys again soon.